go into a negotiation or business meeting, and what you will eventually be evaluated on is whether or not you win or get the outcome that you want. And let's say your manager wasn't here today. Now mine is, so I'm fine. But and you say it's not outcome based, and you sort of act throughout the process as you would with dignity and so on. So how would you handle a situation like that?
Right. Thank you very much. So when you go into a negotiation, the first thing I want to say is you will try to win. Now, you won't try to win at any cost. So when someone says, I'll do anything to win, I start shaking. I'll do anything to win is Enron. I'll do anything to win is Saddam Hussein. I'll do anything to win is no boundaries, no ethical constraints to whatever you need to do, you do. But the only thing that matters is to get the result. That is always, always for the 100,000 years of humanity, there is always the road to perdition. I'll do anything to win, that's the road to hell. And every religion, every tradition, every piece of wisdom will tell you that. So I don't think you would do that. So if I say, well, why don't you, I mean, let's say, competitors. So why don't you put a contract? Just have the mafia kill your competitors. And some people say, no, we can't do that. I say, why? Well, we might get caught. Well, that's dangerous. That's dangerous because then everything becomes a business opportunity. It's like, oh, well, if somebody gave you indemnity or immunity, then you do anything. And that's scary. So we don't want that. We are saying, I will do only those things that are in alignment with our values to win. Within those constraints, I'll do everything to win, but within those constraints. So for me, it's essential at the beginning to have a conversation. What are those constraints? What is the how? How do we want to live together? How do we want to treat each other? How do we want to engage with the customers? And within that how, I'll do the best. But I will not play dirty. I will not lie to you. I will not threaten you. I will not go behind your back to talk to your manager to undermine you so then I win in the negotiation. There are a few things, or many things, not a few, that I will just not do. So let's say those constraints. And as you say, well, it's good that your manager is here. He or she may be liking it, or him or she is thinking, this is crazy. But she won't say it because it's not polite. So the first thing is, how do we want to live? And if you break the how, you're in big trouble. Because this is serious. This is our culture. This is the way we respect ourselves. Within the how, part of the house is excellence. We'll do the best we can. And if you fail, if you keep failing, there will be consequences. It's the real world. So you're not going to get promoted, or you may lose your job. There's no promise that, well, when I was a kid, I remember, I'd come home, or I'd be home and I did something bad, and my mom came, and I would say to my mom, if you promise not to get upset, I'll tell you something. And she said, what? I said, no, you have to promise first not to get upset. So I wanted an insurance that if I tell the truth, nothing bad can happen to me. I want immunity. When you're 4, it's okay. When you're 44, it's a problem. So one of the differences between being 4 and 44 is that you don't long for immunity. You take responsibility. So if you are not able to cut it, and you cannot produce the result operating within the values, maybe you're the wrong person for the job and you have to move. So there's no promise that you're going to be successful. At the end, and this is the Buddha's realization, that's how it all started in Buddhism. He was a prince, and he realized, literally, he realizes, if everything goes really, really well, I'm going to get old, I'm going to get sick, and I'm going to die. And that's as good as it gets. So what does it matter to have all this power and all this money if at the end, I'm going to get old, I'm going to get sick, and I'm going to die? And that's the plight of every human being. How can you find a philosophy that is death-proof, that allows me to smile, literally say, how can you be happy in a reality when things collapse? Everything is transient. And it's not the outcome, because the last outcome in your life is that you're going to die. That's the last outcome, practically. So what is a death-proof philosophy? You don't seek a philosophy that ensures you always win. No philosophy can do that. But there's a philosophy that will say, I will ennoble myself always, and I can guarantee that, even if I lose. And within those boundaries, I'll do the best to win. But there's no immunity. So maybe your manager in Google will say, sorry, you don't cut it. And if you are failing, you say, I'm really sorry, it broke my heart, and I agree. I'm not competent enough to finish or to do this job. And then you see, okay, what do we do next? So it's not like la la land, oh, everything goes well, don't worry. No, I mean, you might lose your job, it's fine. But But you have to choose. What's more important, success or integrity? If someone says you can keep your job, but you have to lie, or you can raise the stock value, but you have to defraud the investors. I mean, so a lot of people choose, and many of them are not caught. So I'm not even saying God will punish you. You know, if the SEC is going to catch you, and whatever. No, I mean, most people just get away with it, maybe. But when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Are you proud of what you see? And what you all said, when I asked you what would make you proud, what do you admire, not a single person said success. And I asked you, now you remember, you're the, quote, greedy capitalists who are working for big business. And not a single person said success. You said things like respect, integrity, honor, or honesty, creativity, passion. That doesn't depend on the outcome. But there's no guarantee that by working passionately, you're going to get the outcome you want. That's as good as it gets. Thank you. I think somebody else, did you have your hand up? You did have your hand up, but I mean, you still want to.
So my question is...
I'll repeat the question. It's okay. You can sit.
Yeah, my question is, Monica talks about being careful of yourself and fulfilling your own values. So what happens if you're working with someone and they don't share the same values as you do?
Yes, very good. So the question or the challenge was, much of this talk is about you and your own values. What happens if you work with other people that don't share your values, or are they anti-values? They betray these values. The reason why I start with the person, with the individual, is that ultimately what defines your sense of self-esteem is your behavior, not how other people behave towards you. I mentioned Socrates. Socrates, the Greeks had this idea of the transmigration of the soul, that there was a soul and the soul took life in multiple bodies over time. And Socrates believed, and Plato and Aristotle, all these Greeks, believed that it's much worse for the soul to commit a crime than to be the victim of a crime. So if you had to choose, it would be a lot less damaging to your soul to experience hardship because other people are unfair than to inflict hardship on others in an unfair way. Now that's a kind of old ancient Greek philosophy, but you can think in your life, and for me this was not an academic question. I lived in Argentina during the time of what's called the Dirty War. And the Dirty War was a military government after a coup fighting against terrorists. So this was in 1976. It started in 76. It went all the way to 82 when Argentina lost, well, the military lost the war. Argentina won the war of the Falklands. So I say Argentina won because after the military lost, they had to leave, and we've had a democracy since. And during that time, there were concentration camps, torture, murder, and then all these things started coming up. And they were in the media in 1982. I came to the States in 1980, so I was seeing it. And I really had to think, and I invite you to consider, suppose you had to choose whether being tortured or being a torturer. I mean, thank God I wasn't in those positions. I was young enough that. But if someone said, you are going to have to choose, which way would you go? Would you rather be hurt, tortured, or would you rather be a torturer? And you're going to survive either way. What do you think is going to scar you more? What kind of life would you like to have afterwards? And as much as I am afraid of pain, I mean, I can guarantee I'm pretty afraid of pain, I would much rather be tortured than being the torturer.